What is going on, everybody? What is going on? Good morning. Good morning. Friday, February 13th. Friday the 13th. 8 a.m. on the dot. We are through the first half of the season, if that's what you want to call it. Lakers will walk into the All-Star break 12 games over 500. Got a lot of good stuff to hit on today on this Friday. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate the support of the channel. Appreciate all the subscribers. Appreciate all the MVP members. So thank you, everybody, for being a part of the show. Looking forward to having a nice little conversation with everybody on this Friday. Everybody ready to go? Coffee number 2 for me. So I'm good. I'm good to go here. Got a lot of good stuff to hit on. A couple things came up yesterday that instantly I knew. I'm like, okay, that's going to be a good topic, so we'll hit on that. So I got a few different things that I'm going to hit on today, and part of that has to do with just yelling at people yesterday in the postgame show. Very normal postgame show. We yell at each other. Nonetheless, looking forward to this weekend, and hopefully everybody had a solid week. If everybody's got Monday off, phenomenal. I'm still doing a show on Monday, so my plan is to still do a show on Monday. I am going to take a day off next week before we get back started, before second half of the season starts. Just not sure which day yet, so I'll keep you guys posted on that. Cheers to you, whatever you're drinking today. All right, let me give everyone a quick rundown what we got going on for the show, and then we'll take a look at a couple of the comments. We'll get the show started. So thank you again for hanging out. Appreciate you guys being here, and please subscribe to the channel. 12 games over 500. So Lakers will go into the break 12 games over 500. Yesterday, they get a win against the Dallas Mavericks. We won't hit too much on the game against the Mavs, but there are a couple storylines that came out. One of the storylines was LeBron getting a triple-double. Oldest player ever in NBA history to get a triple-double. I got a question for everybody, and we could do this once we start with the topics. What's the best role for LeBron the rest of the way? He said something, I think it was to Dave McMenamin, maybe it was to Dan Whitekey, but they were talking about, what he's able to do and how he's still playing at this level and everything else. And he said some stuff that doesn't make you think this is going to be his final year in the league, his final year in the NBA, so we'll get into that. But the best role for LeBron the rest of the way for the Lakers, what is that role? What's kind of an ideal way? Listen, Lakers are going to be putting themselves in a position now where each one of these games in the second half of the season holds a little bit more value, holds a little bit more importance, if you want to say it. So with that in mind, what's the best role for LeBron with the Lakers? Redick said something yesterday. We'll play that clip. He said that if you'd have told him injuries, circumstance, how many games LeBron, Luka, and AR have played together, he'll take 5th place in the Western Conference, and he'll take 12 games over 500. We'll spend a little time just, reflecting what were some of the more surprises you thought in the first half of the season, some of the disappointments in the first half of the season. If we're talking about individual players, I got 2 players that come to mind right away. At least for me, they come to mind right away. We're having a conversation yesterday about Austin Reaves, which I think this is actually going to be a really, really good conversation. A lot of people, Reaves has a good game, bad game, whatever the case is. People instantly start saying, well, Al, I don't trust him. I don't think he's going to do that well in the playoffs. He's got to prove himself, this, that, whatever the case is. I got Reaves' numbers in the playoffs. And the question I'm going to ask for everybody is Reaves still have to prove himself? And I don't even know if it's a question. I feel like most people are going to say, yes, Reaves still needs to prove himself. So we'll get into that. We'll get into that conversation and, how important this playoff run is going to be for Austin Reaves. It's going to be critical in my eyes and probably in a lot of people's eyes. Got some NBA news that we're going to get on. They're throwing out fines now around the NBA. If they're perceiving that you're taking a little bit, just a little bit, you might get a fine. There's a much bigger issue, and I don't think the solution is by fining the Utah Jazz or the Indiana Pacers. But obviously, they got to come up with some type of solution. And if this is all they got right now, this is what they're using. It is actually, in these last 2 weeks, this whole kind of tanking thought process is it's really kind of gaining momentum, and it's making the league look pretty bad, to be honest with you. You got probably a third of the teams right now in the NBA. They're like, yeah, we got no interest in winning. What does that do to the integrity of the game? We'll hit a little bit on it. I'm not telling you I have a solution for it, but what I am going to continue to say is as long as the NBA builds the structure of the league this way, this is going to continue to be a problem. We got the weekend preview, and then obviously we got All-Star Weekend that we'll talk about. Game times are a lot earlier than usual, so if you're going to be watching some of the festivities this weekend, then you better jump on it because I think it's like 2:00, something like that. I mean, it's very, very early. All right, let's take a look at a couple of the comments here before we get started. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I got to call somebody out here real quick. Yesterday, we gave out the Rising Star game tickets to Ryan Romero. Ryan, brother, you commented. You're like, oh, I'm so excited, this, that. You still never send me an email. We have the tickets. I got to send you the tickets. Ryan Romero, who was on the chat yesterday, who won the tickets to the Rising Stars game, I need you to send me an email, brother, like ASAP, so we can get you those tickets. I put my email on here yesterday, so I did that yesterday, so I'll do it again. But take a look at my, obviously at the comments here, and claim your tickets. For the love of God. All right, my email's in there. First, last name at gmail.com. It ain't that hard to find me. We'll see if Ryan does it before the end of the show. I really hope he does. All right. I knew this was going to happen. People are already like, you know what? I'll screw him. All right, let's see what we got here. I got people giving love to our partners. Thank you. Appreciate that. If you're going to do something tonight that you'll be sorry for tomorrow morning, sleep late. Okay? Nice quote right there. Let's get another couple more in here. Dogs come into our lives to teach us about love. They depart to teach us about loss. Oof. New dog never replaces an old dog. It merely expands the heart. Yeah, dogs are I don't know how every household doesn't have a dog. I see my guy, and I'm like, what the hell is this guy? It's like the greatest thing in the world. 12 games above is better than expected. Nobody saw the hot start without LeBron, but borderline playing team is where we might end up as expected. I had some people getting mad at me yesterday. They were telling me that I was being too pessimistic. I'm like, pessimistic? I'm being honest. I was giving my thoughts on the Lakers, and we'll get into it. I'm not trying to be pessimistic. Am I supposed to have some credibility on it? If I'm going to have any credibility, I gotta be fair here. Typical LeBron stat padding against a bad team. Let's see him do something. Even a half decent team also still only shot about 50%. Okay, we'll get into LeBron. Don't worry about that. There was some stat padding last night. Let's be honest with each other. Did you see the look he gave Austin Reaves when Reaves got that rebound? I was like, Bron, relax. He's trying to get a triple-double. That's exactly what he was trying to do. All right, let's get the show started. We'll hit on a number of different topics. And again, as always, I do appreciate you guys being here, and thank you for being a part of the show. Okay, so 12 games over 500. Lakers get a win against Dallas yesterday. Nobody's going to sit here and get too excited about beating the Dallas Mavericks, but they did what they needed to do, kind of the first half playing with their food, and then Dallas was like, don't worry, guys. We're on a 9-game losing streak. Hold our beer. We'll make sure that you get this win as the rest of the league tries to tank. So Lakers end up winning 4 of their last 6 games heading into the All-Star break. They're 24-0 now when leading after 3 quarters. By the way, that's a crazy stat. That's an unbelievable stat to be 24-0 after leading through 3 quarters. Obviously says a lot right there about the Lakers. And if they can have a lead going into the 4th, then you got to feel pretty good about their chances of winning that game. The biggest storyline, 2 storylines I kind of take away from last night's game. And again, I don't want to spend a lot of time on last night's game, but 2 storylines that I'll take away. One thing that I'll take away is just, that's it. That caps off the first half of the season. We are now 54 games into the season, so not that much left. What is that? I keep trying to do the math here. I'm wrong every time. I think about 28 games left in the season. And the Lakers obviously sitting where they are, 12 games over 500, but they got to the break, and it looks like they'll hopefully be healthy for the second half of the season and move on from there. And they took care of a Mavs team that's not good. The second storyline that came out of the game is LeBron getting a triple-double. a historic triple-double. And I'll kind of talk a little bit about the significance of what he was able to accomplish. And then I want to get into JJ Redick. I got some sound I want to play from JJ Redick. So LeBron yesterday, 28, 10, and 12. It's his first triple-double of the season. 123rd career triple-double, 50th, by the way, with the Lakers, which is kind of a crazy stat. I still have a difficult time really taking that piece in, which is I have a difficult time taking in the piece of this is his 8th year as a Los Angeles Laker. It's just kind of a crazy number. It feels like such a high number here. But LeBron obviously able to get triple-double. People want to say he was stat padding at the end of the game. I agree with you. He was definitely trying to get a rebound. He's the oldest player to ever record a triple-double. Obviously, that's a piece there that we all know at this point because it was talked about a lot yesterday. I want to play something here for everybody. And this is, let me see who this was talking about it. It was Dan Weike talking about LeBron. And here's the question that I want to ask Laker fans really is, what do we want to see from LeBron the rest of the season? Because I don't think you need to see triple doubles. I think all these guys need to eventually come into a role that makes sense for the team. But here's Dan Weike asking LeBron in regards to, let me see, about how much he feels like he could continue to play at this level. And that's really kind of the main thing that I want to come across here, because he said something I think was a little bit different than I've heard in the past, where I think it's always been a question mark of like LeBron's not sure what he's going to do past this season. I think a lot of Laker fans are paying attention to this because if you're asking me, I'm kind of hoping the Lakers turn the page after this year and we continue to move on. After LeBron's triple-double, here's what he had to say about how he feels and playing at this level. Take a listen.
We've asked you a bunch of times this year about the end, right? On a night when you play like this, how much more do you think you could do? Like you said a few years ago, right? It was like, I could play 3, 4, 5 more years at a high level. Like, do you still feel that way right now?
Could I?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could. But I don't know. It's not like my game. My game is not going anywhere. It's just it's my body. Hush. Damn you, Scotty B. It's all the other things. There's so many more factors that come with how long will I play the game. Now, I don't think my game will ever suffer if I decided to continue to go however long that is. I just think it's like it has to be here. And, how long can I stay in love with the process? Because that's always been my thing. If I can't continue to stay in love with the process, then if this goes, then my body's gonna go. And once my body goes, then it's a wrap. Then the love goes, and then the fun and all that stuff goes. So that's what it is. It's not like, my game is deteriorating or whatever the case may be. Obviously, there's things I could have did when I was 25 compared to 35 and 35 to 41 or, 21 to 31 to 41. So, but I have so much knowledge of the game that I know how to still continue to make an impact if I'm not 45, 43, 41 vertical, I can still do so many things on the floor.
All right, that's LeBron talking about yesterday again, the triple-double. He becomes the oldest player ever in the history of the NBA to record a triple-double. Courtesy of Spectrum Sportsnet, that clip that you heard right there, that was Dan Weike from The Athletic who was asking the question. So it kind of, I think everyone is, and it's tough sometimes to not jump around and say to yourself, all right, well, is LeBron going to be playing next season? Is he not? We played a clip of Brian Windhorst. I can't remember, it was yesterday or the day before, but there was a clip of Brian Windhorst. It was something along the lines of Windhorst saying, look, here are the options that he has. I know he's not going to be making 50+ million. Does he go play for the Golden State Warriors or the Cleveland Cavaliers? Does he come back to the Lakers on a discount? I don't have any of that, not even discount, but $30 million a year, and they go spend 20 in other directions. I don't have any of those answers. And to be honest, we don't have to have that conversation right now. But here's the conversation I do want to have about LeBron. What's the best role for LeBron the rest of this season? How do the Lakers get the best out of LeBron that's best for the team? By the way, I think that question is still out there for Luka. I think that question is still out there for Austin Reaves. And I think the fact that these guys have only played 10 games together kind of muddies the water a little bit. It makes it a little bit confusing. You're not 100% sure of like what's the best role for LeBron. I was talking to a buddy of mine. This was late last week. I was talking to a buddy of mine. Reaves was coming off that game against Philly where he dropped the 35 in 25 minutes. And he's a big Reaves fan. He's like, hey, look, I told you so. Reaves is the guy, this, that. I'm like, pump the brakes here. All these guys have to have a role. And Reaves is not going to drop 35 if Luka's there. That's just not that his role is going to have to change. And LeBron has had a lot of moments this year where I'm like, damn, he's still making it happen. He's also had moments where I'm like, yeah, LeBron looks 41 years old. Best role for LeBron the rest of the way for the Lakers. I want to read some comments. I'm curious. And for those that, I want it, LeBron stat padding, or I want him to leave after this year. That's all irrelevant for this conversation. What's relevant in this conversation, what's the best Bron can do the rest of the way for the Lakers that's in the best interest of the Lakers? I always kind of look at, if I'm looking at things from a stat perspective, and I'm just paying attention to the stats. Stats are never going to always tell the whole story. Somebody could have bad stats but still impact the game. They could have great stats, and really it's like, yeah, but they were forcing shots, and they didn't help the team win. I think for LeBron, if everybody's healthy, maybe between 20 and 24 points a game, somewhere around 6-7 assists a game, 6-7, maybe 8 rebounds a game, something like that from a stat perspective is what you're hoping for from Bron the rest of the way. But his actual role on this team, that's the one that it's kind of like, all right, between Luka, AR, and LeBron probably sacrifices his game the most because he's got the ability to do it. That he still has the kind of knowledge of the game. He still has, and you don't want LeBron trying to lead the Lakers in scoring or anything like that. You want LeBron to be, I hate to say this because I know people have used this example before. He's never going to be the Draymond Green of what the Golden State Warriors have with Draymond. That's what he's going to do for the Lakers. But there's a little bit of that role. It's like, can he set everybody else up? Well, LeBron's too good of a player, and his history is too unbelievable for him to become Draymond Green, but I kind of get the thought process behind it. He's still having games. I mean, to have a triple-double yesterday, obviously very impressive. To have some of these games that he's had, still very impressive. But having a triple-double or having great individual stats doesn't mean that's the best for the Lakers in a long playoff run. So as I kind of sit here and I dissect LeBron and dissect what's the best role for LeBron here as the Lakers or here with the Lakers, I think he probably is the one that has to sacrifice his game the most. He's going to come off the ball because Luka and AR are kind of desperate to be on ball. He can play much better off the ball than those two guys can. I mean, from what I've seen, he also has the ability to rack up rebounds and assists and kind of do some other things, kind of almost like a free safety in or be a quarterback, but kind of a different style of a quarterback where you're just kind of controlling things, but you don't have the ball in your hands. Maybe there isn't a role where you can do that if you're not the quarterback. I'm curious how LeBron, when the Lakers are at their best, what's LeBron's role? He'll sacrifice the most. And, to be honest with you, I think I'm more confident in LeBron getting you 26-6 kind of in his sleep and finding different ways to impact the Lakers than I am that Austin Reaves is going to be this unbelievable. I think the Reaves piece of this, I'm probably less confident because I'm not sure what Reaves is going to do if he doesn't have the ball in his hands, if he's not trying to control things. Well, Luka's going to be the guy that controls things. If I'm other teams out there, I'm really focusing on Austin Reaves come playoff time, because if Reaves doesn't have great games, then the Lakers probably don't win. So, interesting night last night to see LeBron get the triple-double. LeBron obviously talking about how much longer he can probably continue to be an asset in this league. And I still, listening to that full clip, which was over 1:30, I still think he's not 100% sure yet as well how much longer he's going to be in the NBA or with the Lakers or whatever the case is. But his role is I think the role that probably changes the most if the Lakers are to make any type of playoff run. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments. Take a look here, see what people got to say. Let's see what people got to say. Let's go to some of these comments, go out towards the bottom here. The only player we can trust is LeBron. That's an interesting one. That's an interesting one. But I understand where you're coming from on that. I think what you're saying is I've seen him do it. I know. I think what he's going to be asked to do is very realistic. Basically, here's if you're looking at the not just the 3 stars, but I'll point out the 3 stars. If you're asking, hey, what's the role of Luka in the playoffs? It's to be one of the top 3 players in the world. I mean, that truly is his role. His role is to basically put up 30 to 35 a game, be flirting with a triple-double, be as clutch as you can be, take over games when you need to. Austin Reaves, it's like, I'll go through some of Austin Reaves' playoff stats that he's had so far. He's played in 5 different series, 3 different years, 5 different series. If Austin Reaves has the playoff stats he's had in the past, Lakers are out in the first round. So he's obviously got to up his game, and we're not 100% sure what that's going to look like. LeBron might be the player that you could trust because you're also not asking him to be the best player on the team every single night. Let's get a couple more here. The idea that Bron should sacrifice his game for a Reaves who's never averaged more than 16 points in a game is ridiculous. No, it's not ridiculous, and I'll tell you why. LeBron, I already know what LeBron's going to do. I don't know what Austin Reaves is going to do. Let me tell you this. If Austin Reaves struggles in the playoffs, if he's averaging 16 a game in the playoffs, they're not going anywhere. They're not. And Austin Reaves is coming into a season where you're now 27 years old. You were flirting with the All-Star game. By the way, it doesn't mean Austin Reaves is the second best player on this team if he's averaging more points than LeBron. It also doesn't mean that he's more impactful than LeBron if he's averaging more points than LeBron. That's not what it means. It means if you need a team to win together in the postseason, everybody's got to have their role. Everybody's got to have their role. What LeBron is able to do, Austin Reaves can't do. That's not in his DNA. It's actually more of a compliment to LeBron that he's able to sacrifice his game because I don't think some of these other guys can do it. I mean, that's just kind of the reality here. That has nothing to do with what LeBron can't do or no, LeBron can do things that Austin Reaves just can't do. It's a compliment to LeBron. All right, let's get some more in here. One of them needs to come off the bench. LeBron needs to be the one. I haven't seen that much. I've seen the argument about Austin Reaves. I would still argue if I'm bringing anybody off the bench, I'm bringing in Austin Reaves. I'm bringing in Austin Reaves. Guys, don't get confused by. Let's just say hypothetically, you want to rank these players by importance or whatever you want to call it. This I'm reading here. AR can't be our second best player for a deep playoff run. I don't disagree there, but you have to understand after Luka, I mean, you need 3-4 guys to be stepping up anyways. And yes, most likely it's going to be Reaves or LeBron that you could say, hey, he's the second most productive player in this game. But I don't disagree with this, that AR can be the Lakers' second best player for a deep playoff run. I don't disagree with that at all. It is kind of the circumstance that they're in. Reaves can have 25 points in a game and LeBron could still be the more important player in a playoff run. It's not just the stats that are going to tell you one way or the other. Again, I'm looking more from what people want to see from LeBron playoff run and what his role would be. LeBron needs to be a closer for this team. He seems to turn up the energy in the second half consistently. LeBron also is that guy that will make the right play. I think there's a little bit from LeBron as well that, he's always said this. LeBron's going to make the pass towards the end of the game, but I still think Luka's going to have the ball in his hands. I mean, I think the question is going to be, LeBron will have the ball in his hands if they're doubling on Luka. Luka's going to have the ball towards the end of games. LeBron has to stop turning the ball over. He's been doing too much of that lately. I don't disagree with that. He had 2 games where he had 15 turnovers. This comment by Brian Jackson means the most. Best role is to do a little bit of everything, versatility. And he's one of the few players in the league that can still do, obviously a little bit of everything. So I think there's something there. I think there's definitely some truth to that. All right, let's see what else we have here. Did our winner end up coming in the chat or nothing? Nothing? This freaking guy. This freaking Ryan Ryan Romero. Ryan, you're putting me in a tough spot here, brother. Putting me in a tough spot. Get your ass in the chat and email us. All right, we'll wait to see what happens. Okay. There's another clip here that I want to play, but anyways, let me just kind of cap off this thing here real quick in regards to LeBron. And I think there's something, obviously there's a reason why I'm having the comment here in regards to LeBron. Has a triple-double, will still, doing what he can at this age. But at the end of the day, he's going to have a specific role for the Lakers. And I think that role of the versatility, he's going to have to be able to do everything. LeBron, we need you to get a couple of assists. He's going to have to do it. LeBron, we need a couple of buckets here. He's going to have to do it. LeBron, grab a couple of rebounds. We need to do it. LeBron, get everybody organized on the defensive side. He's going to have to do it. I mean, that's going to have to be LeBron. Yes, there's certain powers LeBron used to have when he was younger. He no longer has. But at 41, the one power that he has over everybody is that experience and that mind. So, anyways, good chat there on LeBron. I appreciate you guys chiming in and giving your comments on a lot of good comments here. Some of them I can't get to all of them here because I want to keep going with the show, but a lot of good comments here. Okay, there's a clip here from JJ Redick that I want to play in just a second. Before I do so, let's give some love to one of our partners. Somebody already did to start off the show. They already gave love to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. Injury attorneys that can represent anybody in the state of California. I hope nobody ever needs him. I know in this industry, you got a lot. There's a lot of injury attorneys kind of screaming for your attention. I think Brad Wallace, to be honest with you, it's kind of a little bit more of a strategy from him. He doesn't need to be out there shouting from the top of his lungs, telling everybody who he is. I think people in the industry all know who he is. They know he's one of the best in the business. I know for a fact insurance companies out there know exactly who Brad Wallace is. He'll fight for you, and I hope you never need him. If you're ever in a situation, a wrongful death case, and you need an injury attorney, a serious injury, go to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. You could go on the website that we created, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. If you go to that website, get an absolutely free consultation. So we got it here in the background. Look how easy it is. And if I can help in any way, if there's a scenario for anybody out there where I need to make an introduction, I'm happy to do so. I've done that already, so it wouldn't be the first time that I've done it. wallacewins.com/Sliwa is the website. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm for being such a great partner of this show. And shout out to our listeners who have supported our partners. So thank you very much for doing so. All right, let's keep things moving here. Let's play a clip here real quick. JJ Redick was talking yesterday. I want to get people's thoughts on this first half of the season. And God, it's so annoying to keep saying the first half of the season. And, we're 54 games in. 13 games over what would be the first half of the season. JJ Redick was talking. He was asked, basically the question of what do you think about the position that the Lakers are in? I want to play this clip for everybody because I think JJ tries putting things in perspective. Take a listen. Again, this is courtesy of Spectrum Sportsnet. Take a listen to what he thinks about where the Lakers are sitting today.
Look, if you told me in September that we'd be, are we 5 in the West or 6?
5, JJ. 5.
Yeah, we're 5. So we're top 5 in the West, and we've had those guys together for 10 games, and AR's missed some time at an extended stretch. Luka's missed some time. Bron missed the start of the year. You take that. So certainly doesn't mean the day-to-day, internal pressure you put on yourself and that I know the guys put on themselves because they care. Doesn't mean that's going to go away, but you've got to feel good about, the last 14 games outside of the San Antonio game the other night.
All right. There's JJ Redick basically, giving his thoughts on the first half of the season. I'll say this. I really do agree with him. And we've had this conversation before, and let me see what we got here. We've had this conversation before, and we spent a lot of time, and I've said this, that I think the Lakers are not in a bad position. I just think the problem is if you're talking about competing for an NBA championship, we got to be realistic here. But I think what JJ said right there about he's okay with the position that they're in. If you'd have told me before the season started, they'd be 12 games over 500, 5th in the Western Conference, he would take it. I don't disagree with him. And frankly, I think a lot of Laker fans probably feel the same way. if you're giving your honest assessment of, hey, if I'd have told you before the season started, here's a position Lakers are in, a little bit flawed with the roster. Ayton hasn't been the player that you were hoping for. Let me just kind of keep going down the list. You know, LeBron misses 14 games to start the season, has already missed, I think, over 17 games now because he's not hitting that 65 game threshold. Reaves was out for a number of games. Now Luka is out. You taking fifth in 12 games over 500? The answer would be yes. I don't disagree with him from that perspective. The question is going to be, what we're going to find out in the second half of the season is, are they a team that could compete with the elite? Or is it kind of just one of those, anytime they play a good team, they're going to continue to lose? They got a couple of games coming out of the All-Star break. I think they got the Clippers, the Boston Celtics. The schedule's going to get tougher. Obviously, we saw a couple of games earlier this week, which kind of sucked to watch because Shea is missing and Luka's missing, and the Lakers sit everybody against the San Antonio Spurs. So you really couldn't take much from those games. You couldn't really assess it. But they're going to have plenty more opportunities as the season progresses. I'm okay with where they're sitting. I think just the things that stand out to me more than anything else, when they play elite competition, they're not an elite team. And if you end up in a 7-game set in the postseason and you got the Houston Rockets, it's going to be tough to get out of that first round. If you got Denver in the first round, it's going to be tough to get out of that first round. You know, you go on a couple-game losing streak, you could be in the play-in tournament where Phoenix is sitting right now. I think Lakers are a game and a half behind whoever's in the number 3 spot, and they're a game and a half in front of the Phoenix Suns, who are in the number 7 spot. Positions are jockeying all day long. For the Lakers, they can't afford. I'll tell you one thing. If you want to assure the Lakers' demise, go be in that play-in tournament and then get, San Antonio or OKC in that first round. You're basically out in the first round. It's not guaranteed, but you guys know what I'm referring to. I think the way for the Lakers for the second half of the season is you got to have home court, probably got to be that number 4 seed. I mean, if you got 3, obviously great. You need a matchup that's a little bit, if you got the Phoenix Suns in the first round, you're like, okay, hey, definitely take your chances there. Maybe even Minnesota as well, even though Minnesota took out the Lakers last season. Still think that would be a good series. It'd be a fun series to watch. But I say all that because I don't think the Lakers are in a bad spot. I think they have put themselves in a good position. I think 12 games over 500 is obviously is a good role for the Lakers to be in the Western Conference. But I also think we also know what their flaws are, and we know that there's a ceiling to this team. And probably that ceiling is the second round. So that would be my assessment. I put on here on my notes here, the biggest surprise and the biggest disappointment, if I'm talking about individual players for the Lakers, if I look back on the season, and I'm prepping here for the show, and I asked myself that question, I kind of already knew the 2 things that stood out to me the most. The biggest surprise for me, not that he's unbelievable, not that he's great, not that he's going to be an all-star, but I thought Jake LaRavia was probably the biggest surprise for me in this first half of the season. He's played in every single game. He grinds. He plays defense. He plays hard. He ain't perfect. But I didn't know much about Jake LaRavia coming into the season. 2 years, $12 million was the contract that he signed for. I think he's outplaying his contract. I think he's been a great asset for the Lakers, and I'm glad Jake LaRavia is on this team. That's the biggest surprise to me. The biggest disappointment, I think we're probably all going to have the same answer. Now, I think, listen, we could all say, yeah, but you got him in the buyout market, and, what are you really spending on him, this and that. I know people can make an argument and a case against the biggest disappointment. For me, it's DeAndre Ayton. Ayton's been the biggest disappointment. He's up and down, more down than up, especially over this last month and a half or so. I think he's the player that has stood out the most to me in a negative way so far this year. I did think that him coming into a situation, I mean, think about this. We said this before the season started. If DeAndre Ayton is thinking about taking his player option with the Lakers, that means he didn't have a good season. Wouldn't you think right now he's probably thinking about taking his player option? We'll see what happens. Still got, a handful of games left to go. They'll have a playoff run. What does he do in the playoffs? So there's still a lot that we're going to have to kind of calculate and figure out. But for me, I will go back to it. I think the Lakers' position is a good position based off of circumstances and based off their roster and the talent that they have. And then I'll also say that the biggest surprise for me in a positive and a negative way is Jake LaRavia and is DeAndre Ayton. So we'll take a look at some of the comments, see what people have to say in regards to all of that. But those are the things right now that stick out to me the most. All right, let me take a look at some of the comments here. See what people are saying. Slee, we know the answer to the question. Don't have right player. As long as JJ thinks this team is a 3-point shooting team, we're done. Offense needs to be changed. I will tell you that, one of the things that the Lakers have done, I think, a better job of is they are playing definitely better on the defensive side over these last couple of weeks. They have a lineup sometimes, and typically it's with Marcus Smart and Jared Vanderbilt. LaRavia probably in that lineup as well. But they throw some lineups in now that I think finally you're like, hey, I think they can get some stops. Offensively for the Lakers, I mean, they're always going to be kind of a shadow of themselves. Really what I'm most curious about is what the hell is their offense and what do they look like when Reaves, Luka, and LeBron are in together? I still don't really know what that combination is. I don't. And they're going to be a lot of minutes, especially in the second half of the season, where these guys are going to have to be playing together and everybody's going to kind of be understanding their roles. I am with you. The 3-point shooting yesterday, Marcus Smart took 9 threes. I had somebody in the postgame show asking me, Slee, why is Marcus Smart taking 9 threes and Luke Kennard's only taking 2? I'm like, because they're guarding Luke Kennard and they're telling Marcus Smart, go ahead and take a 3. And they're telling Vando, go ahead and take a 3. There's a reason why guys get certain looks. And the Lakers kind of fall into that category of, I think they get baited into bad shots or they get baited into what the defense wants them to do. Let's get some more here. Laker fans need to stop pretending that we are one move away from title contention. This roster needs to be flipped upside down outside of Luka. Might not be wrong. Yeah, I don't completely disagree with that. I think the question you're going to ask yourself, and I'm going to get into Reaves in just a second because we had a conversation yesterday in the postgame show that I think garners another chat in regards to Austin Reaves. But Reaves is going to be a part of that future, whether you like it or you don't. But I think he's going to be a part of that future. Outside of those two players, I think everything's in question. Everything. There's not a player after that they're going to sit back and say, we got to have this guy. Maybe LaRavia they like, maybe they say, hey, Vando's definitely got a few. I'm sure there's certain players there. Adu Thiero probably is not going anywhere. But for the most part, I think you guys know what I'm referring to when I say that. Lakers need to try to avoid Denver or Minnesota first round. Houston or Phoenix pose no threat. I disagree with that. I think Houston would be a threat. I think Houston it could be a coin toss. Maybe you want to give the edge slightly to the Houston Rockets because they could play defense. The problem with Houston, they don't have really any other than Kevin Durant and Şengün. Şengün's a nice player. And I'm talking about on offense. They don't really have go-to players on the offensive side of things. But by the way, just think about that. And I don't disagree and I don't know about needing to avoid Minnesota. I think that more has to do with what happened last season, which I understand that. Minnesota took out the Lakers in 5 games. But just think about that. You're trying to dodge teams in the first round. I think that says a lot right there. And I don't disagree with you. I'm trying to dodge the Denver Nuggets. I want to play Denver in the first round. I don't know how much I want Houston in the first round either. But I see where you're coming from in regards to that. Let's get a couple more in here. This is what we know of Ayton. Yeah, I think, I'm going to disagree with that one. I think coming into the year, when you're a player that is now on a buyout, gets bought out, and you're only 26 years old, and you actually have a pretty decent skill set, which I think DeAndre Ayton does, I thought he was going to have a better year. I did. Some of this has to do with it's an expiring contract. He has said in the past he's kind of playing for his NBA career. That's how important this season is going to be. He's got to prove it to everybody. So you think when somebody is desperate, they're probably not going to be the best version of themselves. That doesn't really go with desperate, but he understands how critical of a year this is. I remember early, either before the season started, maybe it was right before, I had MT on. Michael Thompson was on. And Michael is, think about how many years he's been associated with basketball and his time in the league and everything else. And I'm asking Michael, I don't even know if we're talking specifically about Ayton, but he said this whole season comes down to one player. I'm like, all right, who? He's like, DeAndre Ayton. If Ayton has the type of season he's supposed to have and a really good season, then the Lakers could be a contender in the Western Conference. And if he doesn't, then they're at a real disadvantage. So, yeah, no, I think there were expectations for DeAndre Ayton. I had expectations for Ayton, and Ayton clearly hasn't met them. He hasn't. And I think for a lot of people out there, he hasn't met them. All right. Like I said yesterday, I'm pessimistic about the Lakers advancing deep in the playoffs. Wait a minute here. Chris, I thought you were the one saying I'm pessimistic. I thought you were the optimistic one. I thought I went to a whole rant thinking that you were calling me out for being pessimistic. And I'm like trying to save my honor here. I'm like, look, I'm just trying to be honest here, trying to be objective. All right, maybe I read it wrong. 12 hours? I got to apologize to myself. All right, let's keep going here. I just care about the playoffs, and I trust Bron over everyone still. All right. See where you're coming from in regards to that. I could see where your thoughts would be in regards to that. All right, let's get another one in here. Is Ryan Alan, you didn't email me the tickets yet. Ryan, you got to email. Is this you son of a Ryan? You have to email me. How am I going to email you? I don't know your email address. You email me, and then I email you. Oh, freaking Ryan. I'm going to spend the last 15 minutes going at Ryan here. Ryan, my email. I got no email from you, Ryan. What email did you throw it in? We're going to use this on the live. I got these freaking NBA Rising the NBA Rising tickets for All-Star Weekend. I got AM 570 saying, Slee, hey, I thought you gave away the tickets. I'm like, the guy hasn't emailed me yet. You're going to call me out? Unfreaking believable. This is not happening right now. This is not happening. All right, listen. Check your spam. You check your spam. All right, I'll check my spam. This freaking guy, Ryan. I thought we had a connection yesterday. I really did. All right, I'm going to check. You're not going anywhere. I'm going to freaking grab your cell phone number if I have to. I'm going to check again here. Checking my email as we speak. Still nothing. Let's check spam. If it's in spam, I want to apologize for everything. It's in spam. Shit. It's in spam, guys. Ryan freaking got me. Ryan just got me. All right, now I got to find your email. I'm going to get it to the proper people. All right. Okay, hey, that one's on me. Why is it going to spam? What kind of email address do you have here? All right, we're going to figure this out. We'll figure this out. Okay, I feel a little bit better now. Now I feel a little bit better. I think we could all kind of sort of start getting on with our lives here in just a second. There it is. All right, Ryan, I got your stuff. Okay. All right. Everything's okay, guys. Ryan was in spam. It's my apologies, Ryan. Ryan, that's on me, man. That's on me. Okay. I got you from there. Listen, I don't know what the hell happened. I basically I called out somebody saying, you want to go one-on-one? And then the guy just demolished me 11-4. 11-4. Now I'll take the L. I'll take the L. I deserve the L there. Check your spam. God dang it. How is it in the spam? What is this? What is your email address? You in Russia? Where the hell are you? How come it's going to spam? All right, let's keep going here. Got demolished right there. I lost 11-4. Don't say 11-0. I got a couple of buckets in. I mean, I actually gave away the tickets. Okay. Slee is the DeAndre Ayton of the giveaway contest. Well, I gave away the prize package to Harris. That entire prize package, I didn't have any issues. All right, I got to forward this here to somebody else, and then they're going to forward it to the proper channels. And then we're going to get you your tickets today, all right? All right, it's coming your way. It's coming your way, Ryan. All right. Something happened yesterday in the post-game show I'm going to get into in just a second. Before I do, I got to talk Harrah's Resort SoCal. I got to change the subject completely about the tickets here. Calling this guy out, and then I find out it's actually me. Harrah's Resort SoCal, located in North San Diego. Palomar Mountains is the area. I was there a couple of weeks ago. Phenomenal time there. We're actually coordinating a day. I'm going to do a post-game show from there coming up pretty soon. I'll keep you guys posted on that. I want to get some people out there too. I want to do some type of a viewing party. We can hang out, watch the Lakers game together. There is a 20% discount. I'm going to make your guys' life a little bit easier here on how to get the 20% discount. If you got interest, if you hear me talking about Harrah's Resort and you're like, hey, you know what, that sounds pretty cool. They got great restaurant, entertainment, comedians, all this other stuff. I've mentioned Hell's Kitchen. I've mentioned the Lazy River, the swim-up bar. As the weather starts getting a lot better, it's obviously going to be beautiful out there. Rincon Brewery. I've talked about what a beautiful area this is in. And you got some interest of going out there. I'm gonna leave something here in the comments. Click on this link if anybody has some interest in going. We got a special discount, 20% discount to go. So I'm going to leave the link there, but it's also in our description. So it's in the description of the show as well. That link is there. But if I want to make it easy for everybody, if you do want to go and you do want to check out Harrah's Resort SoCal, just make sure you use that discount, get 20% off on room rates. And that is basically, there are some restrictions that apply. So it's going to be during the week, but that's fine. Trust me, it's a phenomenal, beautiful property for you to get out there at. Harrah's Resort SoCal is the website. Use the link that I mentioned to get 20% off when you do book your room. And shout out to Harrah's Resort for really just being a phenomenal partner. They jump in. They're excited about the partnership. They already gave away a luxury suite and $350 room credit. So they already did that. Kind of nice here in regards to just having a partner like this, especially because they got such a great spot and a great place that I can encourage people to go. And then obviously I'm going to be out there as well doing some shows. So shout out to Harrah's Resort SoCal for being here. All right, let's keep moving on here. I got a conversation I want to have from yesterday, and we're talking in the post-game show. Ryan Romero just straight crossing me over. Was it James Harden that crossover Wesley Person? Was that his name? God, I forgot that name. Was that his name? Who was the player? Played for the Lakers for a while, and then I forgot what team he was on. It was Wesley Person, right? Oh, my God. It definitely was not Wesley Person. How long ago did I just go? I went old school here. Who was the person that got crossed over? I can't remember off the top of my head. And James Harden just kind of sat there and waited for him to kind of get up and everything else. That's what Ryan Romero just did to me. I got crossed over, completely crossed over. He waited. I got up. The fans all got up. Everybody's looking at each other saying, what the hell is going on here? And then I think Harden hit the three. That's what just happened here. Wesley Johnson, Wesley Person. Oh my gosh. Do you know how old that reference is to Wesley Person? Wesley Johnson. Wesley Johnson. I just got crossed over by James Harden. I was Wesley Johnson. Damn, that was a long time ago. All right, let me get into this Austin Reaves conversation here real quick. Ryan at the buzz over. Okay, we got the point, guys. Got the point. All right, let's keep going here. I got a question about Austin Reaves. So yesterday I'm doing the post-game show, and there are a lot of people. Wesley Person. Damn, that's an old reference. Yes, I'm doing the post-game show. I got a question for everybody. I got some stats here. I want to pop up on Austin Reaves. Everybody keeps basically saying anytime anything happens with Austin Reaves, they're like, yeah, but he sucks in the playoffs. Austin Reaves could be having his best season in the NBA. He could have been an all-star this year just based, obviously he didn't get there because of the amount of games that he ended up missing. And I think there's a lot of Laker fans that still say to themselves, yeah, no, that, I'm worried about Austin Reaves in the playoffs. Shouldn't be a part of the future. Can I ask this question? Yeah, I kind of already have the answer, but does Austin Reaves still need to prove himself to Laker fans? I mean, is that the problem? What does Austin Reaves need to do whether it's the rest of the regular season or in the postseason, to change some of those people's mind that are saying to themselves, yeah, Reaves is not the guy. What does he need to do? For those out there who are always critical about Austin Reaves, I think you have a case. I'm not trying to, go against your case. My only issue with those who are against Austin Reaves is no matter what he does, I think people are trying to find an angle to say, yeah, but remember when this happened, remember when that happened, or it doesn't matter what he's doing against this team. He can't do it against this style of team, whatever the case is. And it's not that you do not have a case, but what I walked away from the conversation yesterday saying, you know what most Laker fans are telling me is saying, Al, I don't trust in Austin Reaves. He still needs to prove himself. Well, where can you possibly prove yourself to change the opinion of a fan out there? Where can you change the opinion? We all know where that happens. It's in the playoffs. If you're a player that maybe isn't the best player during the regular season, but all of a sudden you become this unbelievable player in the postseason, people remember that. And obviously that's the type of track record that you want to have. You can also flip it the other way. If you got a great regular season, in the postseason you go quiet, oh, that mic is very, very loud. People never forget that when you're struggling from that perspective. This is Austin Reaves in the playoffs so far in his career. And this is why I'm asking the question, does Austin Reaves still have to prove himself? Now, many people who don't watch the Lakers every single night are probably saying, what are you talking about? What do you mean prove himself? The guy was almost an all-star this year. He came out of nowhere. He's earned his spot within this Lakers organization and in the league. A lot of people love the style, how he plays, the way he goes up against. Doesn't matter who the defender is. A lot of times he's able to create for himself, draw fouls. When he starts cooking, he starts cooking. We saw it against Philly in 25 minutes of play. He had 35 points. That's unbelievable. Here's what Austin Reaves has done so far in the playoffs. So over 3 years, Lakers have played 5 series over the course of those 3 years. Remember, they got to the Western Conference Finals against the Denver Nuggets. They lost in the first round against the Denver Nuggets. They lost in the first round against the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is what he's done. 16.5 points per game, 4.5 rebounds per game, 4 assists per game are his playoff stats. Shot 45% from the field, shot about 38% from the three-point line. I don't think those are awful stats for Austin Reaves. Here's the problem. If those are the stats for Austin Reaves, these upcoming playoffs, whoever the Lakers play in that first round, or if they get past the first round, get the second round, whatever the case is, they're not getting past the first round. Austin Reaves has to be excellent in the playoffs. He really does. And, it's just the truth. Like that's the Lakers, based off of the roster that they have, they need excellence from Luka Doncic. They need by far the best playoff round that Austin Reaves has ever had this upcoming playoff series, or whenever they, obviously once we get to the postseason, they need excellence from Austin Reaves, as they're going to need with some of these other players. If Austin Reaves has the same playoff stats he's had in the past, then I think a lot of Laker fans are going to sit back and they're going to say, I told you so. Look, he's not making it happen again. You can't pay this guy. I think it's actually fair to say, the more that I give it some thought, that there is a little bit of, Reaves still has something to prove. And where you prove something is not when you're playing in the regular season against teams that you could take advantage of, or when Luka's not in the lineup. Where you prove yourself is on the biggest stage against the best teams, against the best defenders, with Luka Doncic and with LeBron James. I think you guys convinced me a little bit. I still question whether Austin Reaves and Luka Doncic, I don't think that could be the two best players on a true championship contender. I don't. And I think the roster's got to be perfect if that's who they go with moving forward after this summer. I think Austin Reaves could be the third best player on the championship team. I don't think he could be the second best player. But to prove himself in the playoffs, I think it's a fair argument. I think that one's fair, because let me play out a scenario for you. Let's say Austin Reaves averages 23 a game. I don't even know if 23. Let me just kind of throw out some stats. Let's say Reaves was 26, 5-5 and was phenomenal in the first round of the playoffs, and Lakers got through the first round because Austin Reaves was really, really good along with everybody else. The tone will start changing about Austin Reaves. But as Austin Reaves had 16, 4-4 was his stats in the first round of the playoffs, and the Lakers were eliminated, then you better believe that microphone is going to get a lot louder. Like, guys, you just can't pay this guy that much. You can't give him $40 million. I mean, look, that's another year where Austin Reaves struggled in the postseason or wasn't the player that you need him to be, or the dollar amount that you're about to pay him doesn't equate to what he gives you in the playoffs. I think what I came away with last night is a lot of Laker fans still think Austin Reaves has a lot to prove. No matter what he's accomplished, no matter how he got to the NBA, no matter his story, no matter that he was almost an all-star, I think there's a lot of Laker fans that are saying, all right, cool, prove it in the playoffs. So that's kind of how I look at it. I think if it was LeBron, Anthony Davis, and Austin Reaves, he could be the third best player on a championship contender. But I think under these circumstances, everything changed once they traded Anthony Davis. They have a void at the big. You got Luka, who needs the ball a ton, and Austin Reaves needs the ball a ton as well for him to be the most productive player that he's going to be. For him to be the best version of himself, kind of a similar situation. He needs the ball in his hands. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments, see what people got to say. So I do think that, by the way, this is it is an interesting conversation, and you're going to need a lot better of what Austin Reaves has done in the past. And I think it's a fair question to say. I think those that are kind of on the fence here and saying, Al, I need him to just go off in a playoff round, and he's one of the key components to getting to the second round and then putting up a big fight against the Spurs or the Thunder. You need one of those. I'm not going to argue with you. I think that's fair. 16 points a game. Hell yeah, he has to do better. AR, like any other players outside of superstars, his playoff performance can be determined by matchups. True. But tell me a matchup that he's going to have where, I mean, if you go up against San Antonio and some of their defenders, they're elite defenders. OKC's elite defenders. Houston is known for their defense. Not going to be many good first-round matchups that are going to Jaden McDaniels and Anthony Edwards. Listen, they also got to worry about Luka, so all these teams got to kind of pick and choose their poison here. But there's only one ball. So a lot of these teams are going to have guys that are going to be ready to go against an Austin Reaves type of player. Remember, you're going to be in the playoffs here. This is not going to be teams out there that don't have talent. All of these teams got unbelievable talent. Let's get a super in here. The almost an all-star stuff for Reaves is wishful. No way Lakers get 3 all-stars. Spurs just barely got 2. Denver 2. OKC 2. Well, I mean, I think LeBron's obviously there for what he's done in the past, not what he's doing currently. So, and Reaves just didn't play enough games. So I think that has a lot to do with him. By the way, the only reason why, LeBron got in is because of injuries. Well, no, technically no, because of the coaches he got in. But De'Aaron Fox just got in because of injuries. But I'm with you. There's teams that are better, having better seasons. So I don't disagree on that. To me, by the way, thank you for the super, brother. I appreciate you very much. To me, it feels like AR has talent. It's when teams target him in the playoffs and he's unable to adjust. The problem with Reaves, too, is he's got to be able to get to the free throw line. He's got to have foul calls going with him. There's a lot of factors for Austin Reaves to be. If it's a game where they're like, we're not calling those plays, we're not giving you foul calls, it's going to be up to you to get some easy. But you can't just be baiting for fouls the whole time. That's a game changer for Austin Reaves' game. That's why I'm not a fan of foul baiting, because eventually you're going to get to the postseason. You're not going to always get those calls. Doesn't matter what AR does. People will find a reason to criticize him. I think the playoffs is fair game. Maybe during the regular season, they're not going to give him the credit. But when you're on the biggest stage and the Lakers have a 26-year-old, a 27-year-old, and a 41-year-old, you're naturally going to ask, LeBron's going to have a certain role for the Lakers, something that Luka and AR can't do. Luka's going to have a certain role for the Lakers where he's the best player on the floor and everything runs through him. What is AR going to do to be the best version of himself in a playoff series? And if he's, again, I'm going to go back to it. If his stat line is the same as it's been so far in the playoffs, he's going to get crucified from Laker fans and myself, to be honest. Maybe not crucified, but there's going to be some questions that start coming into play. You really want to give $40 million over there? I mean, those are going to be the two guys that you're going to run with? How much sense does that make? Now, if he's got an unbelievable playoff series and him and Luka are balling and LeBron's got his role in doing what he's doing and they get past that first round and they're a big-time headache in the second round, it's a completely different conversation. But that's almost what it's going to have to be. The issue with AR in the playoffs is that the games are more physical and Austin struggles with that level of physicality. All right. You either adjust your game to it and find ways to, obviously to contribute, or you don't. One of the two is going to happen. If Reaves is average in the playoffs, they're out in the first round. Reaves has to be great. I mean, Luka's got to be ungodly or godly. LeBron's got to be like we've already talked about, 22, 6, and 6. And then it kind of comes down to, listen, it's going to come down to more than just Reaves. Ayton's got to be productive. Rui's got to be productive. Marcus Smart. There's going to be a lot of guys that have to be productive, but I think we all understand how important Reaves is in that conversation. It's fair, Slee. Austin got famous in the playoffs, so he should be judged by. So I can't argue with that. If I'm being completely honest with you guys, I can't really argue with that. I think those that have the question marks about Austin Reaves, it's fair to say, can we see what he's going to do in this postseason? I think that part is fair. Because it's not just what he does, it's how he does it with Luka and LeBron. Specifically how he does it with Luka. Because if Luka's just the one going off and Reaves isn't, and Reaves can't get in a rhythm because Luka's doing his thing, well, then you're asking, then the question's coming more into play of fit and everything else. All right, good stuff right there. A lot of good conversation there. Did everybody forget about what happened with the ticket situation, or does everybody still remember? Because I feel like I started creating like a diversion. I was like, hey, look over there. It's basically what that whole Reaves topic was. It was trying to get me out of the mud. Damn. Sent me 2 emails, went to spam. Huh. Sign AR, then trade him in the summer. He'll be there for a year. He'll be there for at least a year. Never forget. Ryan broke Slee's ankles. Demolish me right there. All right, let's get into a couple other things. We got some NBA news we're going to hit on, and then we are going to call it a day. Okay, real quick here. Let me see what we got here. All right, a couple things around the NBA. Let's kind of jump through the NBA. We'll do the weekend preview. We'll read a couple of comments. We'll call it a day. Do this here real quick. NBA news. Did you guys see all those fines yesterday? The Jazz fined $500K for conduct detrimental to the league in their February 7th game versus the Magic and their February 9th game versus the Heat. They removed Jaren Jackson Jr., Lauri Markkanen before the fourth quarter. Jazz actually ended up winning that game, so I get a little confused. They actually won the game. Pacers were fined $100K for violating the player participation policy for sitting Pascal Siakam and 2 other starters. Jazz owner Ryan Smith tweeted about the fine, rolling eyes emoji, agree to disagree. Also, we won the game in Miami and got fined. That makes sense. Kevin O'Connor points out why the Jazz and the Pacers were singled out and reasons why it's harder to prove if other teams are outright tanking. Guys, I'm going to go back to this. This is a good tweet here from Kevin O'Connor. You guys see it on the screen. This is a stupid conversation. It really is dumb. The NBA can't go around finding all these teams and trying to determine who's tanking and who's not. You better be handing out a lot more fines than just the Jazz and the Pacers. Change your system. Change your system. Teams right now are rewarded by tanking. Your system is flawed. You can't get upset at the Jazz and the Pacers, and those are the only two teams that take it. Do you know the Sacramento Kings have lost 14 games in a row? So because they're a little bit more creative with their tanking, then they don't get fined? Do you know the Dallas Mavericks have lost 9 games in a row? The Washington Wizards, the Pelicans. Go look at all these teams. A third of these teams are tanking. You know why they're tanking? Because they're incentivized to tank. A fine isn't going to do anything. Your system is flawed. Come up with a different system. Don't be mad at these teams. There's other teams out there, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the San Antonio Spurs. There's other teams out there that they're sitting where they're sitting today because they tanked, because they were strategically losing when they needed to, trying to get as many picks as they possibly can. I mean, I just think the NBA, if I'm being completely honest with you, Adam Silver, for me, has done a lot for this league that benefits the league. And then there's a lot of things I'm kind of questioning with Adam Silver. I think the way he's handled this whole thing with the betting scandal, I think the way every time you churn, and this isn't just the NBA, but in a lot of these sports, everything is built on these parlays and betting, and then you have betting in your actual sport. You're hurting the integrity of the game. And then you want to find other teams, that's fine. You could do that, but you have not created a solution for the problem that your own system has created. The system is flawed. Don't be mad at these teams for trying to take advantage of the system the league has created. If the Lakers were not a playoff team, let's say the Lakers were, let's say right now they were 12 games below 500. I'd be doing a post-game show every night, upset if the Lakers won because of the way the system is created. The NBA's got to change their system. Don't be mad at the teams. Don't be mad at the front offices. I don't want to hear anybody say, yeah, but you're screwing with the integrity of the game. Then change the system. If you're a shitty team, you should be losing games because you want a chance at getting a franchise-altering player. And even if it's only a couple percentage point chances, you're going to take your chances with that. So they keep finding everybody. I think it's a stupid – I think the NBA looks dumber and dumber every single game because they do have a problem and they're not addressing the root of the problem. It's the root of the problem. All right, a couple other NBA stories here. Shams on ESPN's NBA Today talking about Seattle and Las Vegas. So here's what it looks like. I'm not going to play the clip right now, but it looks like we've said this 1,000 times already. Seattle and Vegas, they're the front runners right now. NBA expansion looks like, what teams could eventually go to the Eastern Conference. I've seen Minnesota thrown out there. I've seen Memphis go out there. So we'll see what eventually happens. But obviously we know this. Yesterday was one of the cool stories I saw. Nikola Topic makes his return for the Oklahoma City Thunder after being diagnosed with testicular cancer in October 2025. He was the 12th pick in the 2024 NBA draft. You know why I know about this guy? Because he was in the summer league and everyone was oohing and ahhing about him and like, oh my God, the Thunder got another player. They got another player that it looks like is going to be a really good player in the league. Anyways, sad story that's ending up hopefully being a great story for him. He made his debut yesterday. Everybody gave him a stand and mo. Good for him. Obviously, an unbelievable story and a really, really cool to root for a player like that that's trying to come back after being diagnosed with cancer. Dylan Brooks suspended for 1 game for reaching 16 technicals. I saw that yesterday. I'm like, he already reached it? Is that a record here for getting to the 16 technicals this quick? Good for him. He's not screwing around. I mean, if you're going to do it, go make it happen, and he's making it happen. Go get your money's worth. Okay, final thing we're going to do here, and then we are going to read a couple of comments. Weekend preview. Thank you to Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm for sponsoring this segment of the show. WallaceWins.com/Sliwa. If you need an injury attorney, you guys know all the details from there. Here's what we got going on for the weekend. Tonight, NBA Rising game. Ryan's going to be going. Freaking Ryan, man. Freaking Ryan. He's going to be going. I'm excited that he's going. NBA Rising Stars game tonight at 6 p.m. on Peacock. Tomorrow, NBA All-Star Saturday, State Farm three-point contest, Kia Shooting Stars competition, and the AT&T Slam Dunk contest. That's going on tomorrow. Let me give everyone a quick idea here. Devin Booker, Con Knipple, Damian Lillard, Tyrese Maxey, Donovan Mitchell, Jamal Murray, Bobby Portis, and Norman Powell for the 3-point contest. I won't go into the shooting stars because who cares? Or I won't do that. Slam dunk contest. Carter Bryant, Jackson Hayes, Kashad Johnson, and Jace Richardson. Jason Richardson's son. All right, very cool. Very cool. So that's going to be the slam dunk contest. Obviously, Jackson Hayes in that mix. We'll see what he's able to do. And then Sunday, NBA All-Star Game starts at 2 p.m. Just a reminder there, 2 p.m. on NBC and Peacock. So this is now they got the team stars. So the world, team world. So you guys kind of know what the structure is. I'm curious to actually see how this one goes this year. I'm not the person, by the way, I know everybody typically complains about the All-Star weekend. I think it's an exhibition. I really don't care. It's not the end of the world to me. I know a lot of people care a lot about it. What do you think the NBA would do with the Clippers over Kawhi Gate? Intel Wild, thank you for the 5 spot. What do I think they're going to do? I think the NBA wants nothing to do with this story and really, really hope that it goes away. I think to me, the bigger surprise would be that they are able to prove that they circumvented the salary cap and they paid Kawhi through aspiration, and then they come down hard on the Clippers. I think that would be the bigger surprise. I think a small little slap on the wrist is probably what's expected. Not a good look for the league if this happens. So what does the league do? We'll see. We'll see what they do. You fix tanking by giving the top 4 picks to the play-in teams. Guarantee tanking dies right then and there. Yeah, listen, there's a way to fix. Let me give you guys a good example. By the way, Intel, well, thank you again for the super there. I appreciate you very much. Thank you, buddy. I don't think something's going to happen. And if it does, that'd be great because it is the integrity of your game and you want to make sure that stuff doesn't happen. But we'll see what happens. I'd be surprised if something big happens. Go back to this, the tanking thing. Remember when the NBA was having an issue with flopping? Not to say that they don't still have flopping, okay? But remember when the NBA was having an issue with flopping, like a major issue. Everything was kind of drawing a foul, everything else, blah, blah, blah. Guys were flopping all over the place. It was bad for the league. Just wasn't a good look for the league. You know how you can take care of that? Hey, we review these, and you don't have to review it during the game. After the game, we determine whether you were flopping to try to like fake out the referee or you weren't. The first time that you do it, you're fined X amount of dollars. The second time you do it, you're suspended for a game. You know what's going to happen? There's no flopping. They can stop these things if they actually want to. This tanking stuff, there's a system out there that they can create and they could say, and I've heard some of the rumors. There was one rumor out there where it was basically like they stop counting how many losses you have at a certain point of the season. And then after that, it's irrelevant. You're going to still get tanking to a certain extent. There's ways to do this. There's ways to incentivize teams that if you're not one of the worst teams and whatever the case is, the final 10 games of the season, I know this is somebody, I forget who it was that was trying to take something from, I think it was Richard Jefferson that was trying to take something that they do in soccer. There's ways to figure out how to stop tanking. But your current system that you have, you encourage tanking. Here's one. Sam Presti, half a decade tanking to be where they're at right now. Not everyone's Sam Presti. Not everyone can draft and develop the way the Oklahoma City Thunder are, but you get the concept. Let's just get young players, and let's hope we can find, a true star. OKC's not a good example because they're actually a well-run team. Sam Presti has drafted and developed for 25 years or 20 years, however long that's been. All right. I think we got everything. Got everything in there? People are paid to find loopholes. Of course they are. Again, I'm going to go back to it. I'm not saying there isn't a problem. What I'm saying is you finding teams is not the solution. You got to find the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is your system. So figure out the root. So their teams will tank again in the playing tournament? Yeah, I'm not sure about what that one meant. Let's see what we got here. Last one here. For effort in All-Star game, Do you think it has anything to do with the streaming and the ability to see any player in any game on any night? Players don't have to try and show out anymore. No, if I'm being honest with you, I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's a freaking exhibition game. I just don't think anybody gives a shit. That's what I think. And I think if you're trying to make people play like it's game 7 of the NBA Finals, you're setting yourself up to fail. Just enjoy the exhibition. I don't get as angry. I mean, of course, I want to see, give me 10%, give me 15%. You don't got to give me 80 or 90%. I know what I'm signing up for. I know it's an exhibition game. Just like I know what I'm signing up for if I go to a preseason game. Just like I know what I'm signing up for if I'm watching a practice. Games don't count. All right, my people, that's all we got for today. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. Greatly appreciate everybody hanging out. Really appreciate all the supers. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Ryan, I'm really looking forward to you taking advantage of going to this Rising Stars game tonight. So thank you everybody for being here and really enjoyed the show. I will see you guys Monday morning at 8 a.m. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Have a great rest of your Friday. Have a great weekend. I'll see you guys Monday morning. Ryan, we'll get you the tickets. All right, relax. Next time, can't you just quietly send me something saying, hey, Slee, just an FYI, check your spam folder. But no, got to make a big deal about it. Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of your day.